just for a couple of minutes go over, this stuff is quoted a lot. And it was originally in something called the Memoirs of the Master, which appeared in a book that was authored by Sensei's son, Kishimaru Ueshiba. It's called Memoirs of the Master. And when I was first doing Aikido, it was handed out at UC Santa Cruz by Robert Frazier for all the Aikido students in the club. So in Ueshiba's Aikido, there are no enemies. It is a mistake to consider anyone to be an opponent or enemy, to want to be stronger than anyone else, or to try to defeat anybody. In true Budo, there are no opponents or enemies. True Budo is always in tune with the universe. There are no opponents or enemies. Okay, now I read that. True Budo is always returns to the center of the cosmos. Training in Aikido is not to make one physically powerful or to make one skillful in combat. It is for the purpose of bringing all the people of the world together in peace to make things better little by little, to stay centered and in tune with the universe. Aikido is a compass that points to us in the right direction so each of us can fulfill our mission in life. Aikido is the way of harmony. Aikido is a path of love. My Takemusu Aiki is not derived from religion. Rather, Takemusu Aiki sheds light on the true meaning of religion and helps bring it to perfection. I am ready for whatever arises. Nothing phases me. I am free of any attachment to the matter of life or death. I leave everything up to the divine. Training is not limited to the time you are holding a sword. In all of your daily actions, you must transcend the realm of life and death and entrust yourself completely to the divine. To repeat, how beautiful this form of heaven and earth, created from the source. We are members of one family. So that was translated a little differently in the Memoirs of the Master, but it's kind of the same thing. And it's quoted an awful lot. So he's kind of saying, Aikido is something that, most people wouldn't, because you look at it as a martial art. And so there's a tendency to go opponent. And one way of looking at it is that, if you look at it as overcoming somebody out there, there's that sense of a duality, whereas if you kind of look more, it's for perfecting yourself on some level, then there is no opponent other than the interior one. And I don't know, that's, that was something that I used to resonate with a lot when I was first starting. It was very different because I've done karate. That was very strongly an opponent, in karate. And the Aikido was a bit different. So let's see, let's see. Anybody with a comment? So that stuff is quoted quite a bit. He kind of really is pretty, that's very, very strong sort of philosophical comment on what Aikido is. But it also is kind of a strong comment on who we are, or what we're striving to be, or what our goals are, instead of necessarily trying to overcome somebody. If you could look at your goal in the world, it's kind of create peace and help the world little by little go back into more of a balance with itself. So those are pretty big things. Anybody with a question or an observation? Because I'm sure you've read it or heard about it sometime. Anybody? Okay, if nobody has anything to say, going once, going twice, I just thought what we do is go into the other room and just start with some movement. So we're going to shift. And I'll put the clock here so we don't. And I will reverse the screen. And whoops, we go this way or this way? We'll go this way. Okay, so I'll try to center a little bit more. Okay, and we've been working on and we'll start with the cut. Okay, Dave and I had a maybe best thing to do here because it doesn't take a lot of, we're not moving from side to side very much. It's easier to get a full body shot. Yeah, that's better. And sure, we'll do some Tai Chi later, so we'll spread it out or if we start to move a little bit more. And one of the things about the cut, which is really hard, is, we put our weight into the cut. And there's that closing motion. So one thing I thought we'd do is try a little bit, where we're kind of doing the cut one-handed. And the thing we've been using about the safe, you're on a safe, safe's attached to a very strong chain and anchored pretty strong. You're going to drop the safe. And when it hits the bottom where the chain is fully extended, all right. So if you're on top of the safe and all of a sudden the safe drops, everything's going to appear to go up. And right here, boom. So one-handed, or boom. That's that closing motion, boom. The second that chain is really fully extended, boom. Boom. So you don't want to bounce, you don't want that. See, if I do that, I'm actually pulling and stopping the cut. Boom. The weight of the safe doesn't stop. Boom. But it's timed right at the bottom. So try the one-handed swing. When you get the one-handed swing, you don't so much get the closing action in the hands, but you're getting that feeling of weight, 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 weight. There's going to be a little bit, but it's not that sort of up and down. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. So, and we don't do this too much, but for example, the left hand, same thing, up, boom, boom, boom. See, I've always kind of amazed how good my left hand is. Why? Because the right hand has a whole lifetime of Aikido lifetime of bad habits. Okay. And the left, boom, boom. So the one-handed exercise in Aikido is your basic showman. Okay? So you're practicing one-handed, boom. So right at the bottom of the chain, boom. Boom. Okay. Anybody with any questions on that one? That's a good exercise.
When I was doing it with my left hand, the feeling that the sword was pulling me off my balance came back.
With your left. Interesting. Well, for example, if you get, it sort of depends, I guess, a little bit on where you position the chain. Okay, if it's, because there's a weight out there, all right? But what if you put the chain right where your spine is? Boom. 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 That's another thing. Position it right where your spine is, inside you. And I think you'll probably find that, you might not be so used to swinging with the left hand, okay? And so, our attention goes out there, there's that little pull. But if you, boom, put the chain right in the middle. Boom. Okay? Yeah, that helps me sometimes if I feel like I'm being pulled out. Swing a couple, see if that helps, okay? A couple of swings and we'll see.
When I first was doing the left hand, I was holding my left hand where I would be normally holding it, like toward the end of the broken.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You can hold with your left hand right at the bottom of it. Boom. It's there's more weight there, Boom. If you want to strengthen your wrists, it's probably better to hold at the bottom. Okay. But how did it feel, Paul?
When I was holding it, it felt like I wanted to. When I'm holding at the bottom, it felt like it wanted to lift up a little bit.
Okay.
If I'm showing it correctly on the camera, you know what I mean? I'm exaggerating.
Yeah. Huh. Well, it's more difficult to control. In fact, what the right hand is about is, is giving it direction. The left hand is actually the power hand. And when you take the right hand away, the right hand is a stabilizer. Shouldn't see if you're swinging here, you go out there because the right hand is a lead hand. The other thing is put your left foot forward, boom, when you are swinging with your left. So left hand, left foot. Yeah, gives you a little bit more stability. Yeah, okay, that's good. That looked pretty good. Yeah. No, see that bounce? You don't want it to go like this. That's almost like in basketball. You have a wide open shot and you go, I shouldn't take it. Put it up. Let it fly. If you miss it, there's Draymond Green to clean it up inside. Okay? So, yeah, that's better. Okay, now, anybody else with a question or observation on that? Okay. Go back to the full screen here. Now, the other thing we could do is another one. And you can hold it, I just hold here, but you can hold it at the end, okay? It's harder, this hand, but here, the chain runs down. So we don't want that or that. We want that. Boom. So try where you're getting more of the vertical here. Boom. 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 And what it is right here, instead of trying to stop it, the chain runs down. Okay. And after a bit, you stabilize it, the chain. Oops. Hello. Classmates. Boom. But this is also a good one. And yeah, so that's the kind of the vertical one. You're not really cutting, you're developing the David, try to get it to where instead of getting this angle here, you're getting it more straight up. All right, boom. In other words, that chain runs down here and right there, boom. The chain runs out and the safe hits the bottom. Boom, boom. Okay, and one thing that can do is that it takes, I want to put weight out there when I swing. And when I'm doing this, boom, boom, the weight's all in that safe. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Okay, anybody with a, yeah, that's better, David. Okay, so you want it somewhat vertical. You don't want too much of a slant this way. Boom. Okay, any comments on that one? It's a little different than the first one. The first one is much more like it's a cut, right? But this is more an alignment. Okay, let's try it with the left hand. Okay, again, left hand, left foot. Okay, I'm making sure I don't hit anything, all right? And boom, boom. So I want that, the chain and the safe are out here initially. Boom. So I don't want too much of this. Boom. And then after a couple of swings, I put the chain and the safe right here. Boom. 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 So you don't really want to be putting any weight in the cut. All the weight, boom, is in the safe. So swing a couple more times, left hand. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, that's getting it, David. Yeah. Bonnie, of course, it could be the angle of your camera, but you don't want it too much out here. Boom. Boom. See, the question is not so much where is my center? It's out there. It's more like, how is my center? Right in here. Boom. Okay? And the one hand is trickier. But we're doing this because we're going to do two hands just a second. That's better. Okay. Okay. Now, we're going to go back to, make sure I don't hit anything or anybody. Okay. Now the cut. Boom. Two hands. See this, if you're swinging with the right hand, you get that loop. And then to get power, you put your weight out there. And right at the bottom, boom, that's the safe. Okay. And with the two hands, boom, there's that closing motion. Boom, which we don't get so much when it says one-handed. But we're not stopping the cut. Boom. That's just the weight of a safe going that way. Boom. Boom. And looks a little bit more like boom. Okay. So swing a couple more times. Okay. Two hands. Okay, David, you're getting a little bit of what I call the bounce. Okay, now if you were to drop the safe attached to a very strong chain, and that's chain attached to something that's not going to break, there'd probably be a little bit of that. But the overriding feeling would be boom. So the bounce, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, that's it. You're starting to hit it right there. Okay, let's touch base a little bit. Let me reverse the screen here. And one of the things we were going over on Saturday, okay, putting your soul stamp on the cut. That's what the cut is. Boom. Boom. Okay? Now, we read all of our sensei's words, and he talked about things about, the world is one family. Boom. Transcend life and death. Boom. We don't want a lot of boom. See, this is a little bit like I hit the truth, but I can't handle it, so I bounce off of it. Boom. 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 So that's the feeling you put your stamp on it. Boom. Not that you stamp on somebody or something, but boom. Okay? So what I'd like you to do is a psychological shift. Not so much that, I'm cutting, it's like, boom, yes, or peace, or Black Lives Matter. Boom. Okay? See, Sensei was talking about all that stuff. He wasn't really talking about a dreaming space. Work, little by little, make the world better. Boom. To do that, boom, I have to be better. I have to be focused, relaxed, boom. Okay? So see if you can do that. You're putting your stamp on the cut. It's your soul stamp, so to speak. Fancy word. Hey, Bonnie, that's good. That's good. Keep going. Yes. Yeah, Paul, that's getting that. Just that stamp. Boom. Okay. Anybody, just curiosity there. What does it feel like? Putting your stamp on it. Boom. Anybody? Anything you'd like to share?
One question that occurs to me is, I can put my stamp on it, but then when we shift to partner practice, I don't want to actually concuss my partner.
Yeah, in other words, there's a sense of what, but, the feeling right here is also, it can be very adaptable. Point is, I'm doing a quicker motion, boom, but right there, when I need it, it's there. Up here, boom. But, you work in this more, you practice with yourself. Even if somebody's coming in, it's like, boom, harmony, blend. That has somebody the feel of it. So the thing to do, which we can't do, is pair up and do some motion. We did that in the park on Saturday. But you're right. But here, boom, boom, boom. And I don't think of it as concussing anybody. I'm thinking about boom. For me, and one of the things that Sensei was talking about was transcend life and death. On a more realistic level, what we're really doing is transcending winning and losing. Okay? Boom, for just a moment. So, yeah, it's a real concern. You don't concuss somebody with this. But it's right there when you're working with yourself. It's a bit more like a meditation. Okay? But that's a good question. Anybody else?
Since I noticed before you said I was doing it kind of okay, I noticed the weight in my back left heel, I felt more centered over my left foot than my right foot, and in the back left part of the heel, and then lifting up to the third eye. And then as I sank down, or let the anvil drop, the safe drop, I felt as if the weight was still in the back heel, but slightly forward, in a slight rocking motion with the center, just to allow the balance from the sword to move my center slightly forward. And then I also had
go on.
And then just the feeling with, as I was slicing, I guess I have some, I don't know, an emotion right now. I'm not sure what to identify, but I felt like I was slicing it through it to try to figure out what it was, something that I have to deal with. So whatever it was in the zone of life and death.
Oh, okay. Now you said slight shift in the hips or something. Could you go over that again? Because you're talking about shift, but what did you say about the hips or your core?
It's so with the center and the hips, I feel like my weight is, as I go up to the third eye,
Yeah.
I'm balanced more on the back of my foot, the two balance points closest
Yeah.
to the heel. And then
Okay.
the hips, my hips are still out of balance, but I feel like as I went forward, the plane of my hips, if it was parallel to the earth,
Okay.
it felt like it just moved forward a little bit and maybe expanded just a little bit as the safe dropped.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, so you don't want to contract right there, but if it overexpands, then all of a sudden I'm pushed out. So the thing that I notice, for example, is pretty much when you're raising, your weight's going to go back. Now there's a weight shift, right? All right, but you're also kind of getting there's something in the hips right there. And Anthony had that question. I think it was last week or maybe the week before about the weight shift. Okay, there is a shift from back foot to forward foot, but if I keep doing that, okay, the cut stays out there. Boom. So there's that sense where the actual weight of the safe, simultaneous pretty much with that is boom. There's a sense where the center does expand. Okay, boom, 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 boom. Okay. Now, one of the things that I was reading in the Sadhguru autobiography, a couple of Americans come over, and there's one guy named Frank Howard, who's a home run hitter. He's 6'8", and so he looks at who's much smaller, and says, "How do you hit home runs?" Because the whole thing, a home run hitter is a big giant, right? Who's tall for a Japanese, but definitely nowhere like Frank Howard, right? Or the Americans that hit home runs. And so kind of says, I understand the secret of the weight shift. Okay. But one of the things about it, if you're thinking about shifting your weight, you're off balance. It's like, boom. Really what it is that, there is a weight shift forward, back foot, forward foot, but it can't be that weight shift or the swing is out there. Everything right there, with the second the foot hits the ground, because used to stand on one leg, there was that boom, expansion in the core, and boom, there was this cut. So the sense is, yes, the weight does go back as you raise and forward, but the feeling of it when it is that boom, the second that you get that at the bottom, boom, there's a kind of a trigger expansion vibration in your hips. And the second that foot touched, boom, there was that cut in the form of a swing. So again, he studied sword. Okay, so work on that a little bit. And again, boom, boom, put your stamp on it. For you may feel it different, like for you, the expansion. What I tend to feel more than anything else is there's a vibration. I'm like a string that all of a sudden somebody goes, dong, and there's a note, and right, boom. Okay, but boom, boom, boom. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Anybody else with a question, or swing a little bit more, see what you think. Okay. Take a couple more swings.
To me,
Yeah.
it seems like when you're doing it properly, it feels like you're hitting. It's kind of like analogous to finding the sweet spot in a bat when you're batting. When you hit, you get that sweet spot when you're hitting.
Okay.
When you're getting it, it's like if there was a sawhorse or something here I was hitting, there was going to be no kind of vibration. It was just going to be solid.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing really is, after a bit, you have a physical body, but on some level, you know, there's a vibration trigger, and you have to get the physical form enough to get to that point. Right? And whether you're okay. Boom. 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 And when you hit it, initially there's movement because sometimes we don't realize we're hitting it. But after a bit, you go for the body feel of that place. And you get some consistency. Everything, you know, is repetitive, you know, at its core, okay? Now, once you get the basics of it, then you can kind of move it out and it gets flexible. I mean, if you look at Mr. O, he had to be able to handle a fastball. He had to be able to handle a breaking pitch or a variety of them. And he had to be able to handle changes of speed. Then he had to be able to handle changes of location with changes of breaking balls and changes of speed and fastballs in different locations. So even though he had a swing, you know, he couldn't just do the same swing as a form all the time. He was adapting to where the pitcher was doing that. On the other hand, O-sensei told him, he says, when you get the secret of Aikido in baseball, you'll find after a while, you lead the pitcher. You will know what the pitcher is going to do because you're kind of in that center space. And after a while, whatever you want the pitcher to do, the pitcher will do. You and the pitcher become one. There's no separation. All right? So he told his coach, you're messing this kid up because you're trying to teach him, you know, interval. In other words, you have a problem, kid, because you and the pitcher are separate. And so that separation is keeping him from hitting. And those sensei said, no, you're teaching this kid wrong. There is no separation. He and the pitcher are one. That's the truth. Separation's an illusion. And then he kind of gave O a couple of pointers, like, yeah, he says, when you understand what I'm saying, in other words, you put the secret of Aikido into baseball, you're going to know what the pitcher is going to do because you and the pitcher are one. And after a while, it'll seem to you like whatever you want the pitcher to do, the pitcher will do because you and the pitcher are one. Okay? And O's coach didn't know quite what to do with that. So he says, yeah, but what can I teach him tomorrow? And what O-sensei told him, the coach, is teach him to wait. Teach him to wait. So there's an area right here where, boom, I'm waiting for the proper feel, boom, to put my stamp on it. So waiting is, what you call downtime. Okay? Establish a route. Don't get too caught up out there. And, you know, in some sense, what O-sensei is saying is a fancy term, transcend life and death. Well, for us, it's more like transcend winning and losing. Okay, so take a couple more. Okay, we're going to move on in just a second. But what I'd like you to do, is for example, I'm going to put my stamp on it. Boom. But, let's just use a word Go Sensei uses, peace. All right? Who's standing here? Peace is an abstract idea that's out there. Now, peace is a reality inside. Now, if peace had a kind of a scent, I'd be getting it with my olfactory nerves. If peace had a taste, all right, then I can put my stamp on it. So as long as it's an idea, even the proper idea, and if I get too caught up in winning by getting it, I mess up. If I get too dejected when I miss or can't do it, winning and losing, life and death. It's like boom, boom. Okay. So take a couple more swings and then we'll move on. Okay, and a couple of things. Now we didn't do any of the staff movement, but the staff movements, boom, 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 are good to practice in conjunction with it. But you're not doing the cut. Boom, 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 boom. At any point, boom, boom, boom. Now, boom, boom. You're never that far away from being able to do boom, make your statement. Okay. All right. So anyway, that for me is good because it keeps you more adaptable when you're kind of doing the staff work. And sometimes the staff work without the ability to do that can get a little too diffuse. So anyway, what we're going to do is go into the Tai Chi. So we're going to go over, let me see, that should do it. Yeah, that should do it. And so we'll take the lesson 1, go through another step. Then for those of you who have done it, we'll go through the entire step, okay? So we're going to start again with feet apart, shoulder width, turn the right foot out, shift the weight to the right. Heel toe step, your knee covers toe, back foot turns toe in. Nose and navel can face 45 degrees from where we started, face the direction we started, or go to the knee without twisting. Nose, navel, face the front knee. And okay, we got that shoulder width. So we're not in an Aikido triangle, we're more in a square position. Okay? And same thing, this time we'll turn the left foot out, shift the weight to the left, so you keep the knee here. We don't stand up to move the right foot. But here we're going to take 30 degrees. Heel, toe, knee covers toe, your back foot, toe turns in. And you have a width back there. And here, shifting the weight, knee and toe face a direction, that's the direction nose and navel face. Not too far, also not here. Here, for aligning knee and toe. nose and navel, okay? And keeping the weight down, this motion here. Okay? And then we can go back and forward. Okay? And the other major step. Heels together, turn the toes out 45 degrees each side. Okay, now we're going to keep the weight on the left, right foot, toe, heel, heel, toe, distance between the knees, thumb to ring finger. Keep the weight down on the right, left foot, toe, heel, heel, toe. Okay, so those are the major steps, okay? So what we're going to do is we'll repeat the first lesson and go a little further, then we'll repeat the whole form. So I'm going to give myself a good camera angle here. So again, breathing, relax the chest. You're breathing like a baby, breathing through your lower belly. A little bit more. You can actually breathe a little bit more to your ground if you want. Good, this is a good starting place. Relax the chest, let the arms hang naturally, breathe in. Arms go up, shoulder level, go down, waist level, fingers relax. Bend the knees, commencement. Turn out the right foot, shift the weight to the right. Left hand underneath holding a ball. Left foot step, heel toe, hands brush, then separate. Turn the right foot toe in. Chest level, waist level, foot off, left. Foot off, left. Okay, now keeping the weight down on the left, right hand holds a ball. You're on the toes of the right foot, 30-degree step. Hands come up. This is nose hip height. This is like you're taking your pulse. Push up. Okay? And what I'll do is I'll show it from the back in this direction. Breathe in and out. Back foot turns toe in. Keep the weight down on the left foot. Make sure the left toe turns in. This is push up. Okay? And make sure that back foot turns toe in. Right hand underneath holding a ball. Push upward, make sure left toe turns in. Now lower the hands, reverse the palms. This is pull back. Now lower right hand chest level, left hand kind of right at the wrist here. This is called press forward. Extend the arms out, straight back. Straight forward, this is push. At the end of push, don't straighten your arms. There's a circle and a circle. Okay? Now lower the hands, reverse the palms, pull back. Now lower the right hand, chest level, palm facing, left hand, right here. Rotate, align with the forward foot, press forward. Now extend the arms out and push. Okay. Hands come up to nose tip height. Sink to chest level. Back up the nose tip height, but they stay round. They don't, for now. Okay? And breathe in and out. Now here, extend the arms out, but don't lock them. We're just going to do the feet. Shift the weight back. Toe turns in. Feet are at 45-degree angles from the original direction. Shift the weight back to the right. Keep the knee bent. Now what you're going to do is cross. Cross. So my toe, right foot, heel, left foot. But not too long or too short. About a shoulder width. Cross. Keep the weight down. Now we're going to step 45 degrees right foot. Okay, still knee covers toe. And there's that width there. Keep the weight here. And we're going to form the heel position facing that direction. Okay. Now, extend the arms out, toe in, shift the weight to the right, keep the weight down, hold the ball, left hand underneath. Now cross, as you shift the weight onto the left, turn the right edge of palm away from you and push down. This is shoulder level. This goes to waist. 45-degree step as you shift the weight onto the right knee, grip the right fist, forehead level. Keep the weight on the right and keep the weight down, heel. Right fist goes under left elbow, nose tip height. The toe shouldn't be too high, but it shouldn't be flat. About an inch up. Leg is straight here, but not locked. Okay, all right? That's a big move. It's actually 3 moves, but you get credit for one. It's called fist under elbow. Any, whoops. Any questions or on the review and for today, the new step, fist under elbow? Anybody? Breathing. Breathe to your lower belly. Okay.
You need to switch your camera, Sensei.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, how are we doing? What happened here? All of a sudden I lost myself.
You switched to the back camera.
I did. Okay. Let's do back camera. Oh. Whoops. Back camera, stop video. Participants. What do I do here? Do I go? Okay. Or here? No? What do I do here?
Look for a camera icon with 2 arrows going in a circle around it.
Gee. So you can't see me? Is that what it is? Am I invisible now?
You're on the back camera, not on the front camera.
Okay. All right. Gee. Huh, how did I do that? Oh, switch camera. Got it. How about that?
There you go. That's it.
Is that it? Okay. All right. I pressed the wrong button. Okay. Yeah. Something about, for example, you know, the breathing. if you get into swinging the sword, they're similar. Okay, for example, the breathing's too high. Calm feeling you're breathing through your belly. So it's counterintuitive, you know, here. Breathing to here. You can put your stamp on it. If you're breathing high, well, you're kind of too vacuous. Okay, so Tai Chi, boom, there's an uproot, or boom, there's a kind of a very relaxed interior, boom, explosion in your motion. And that is tied to breath. Okay, now let's move and do at least one more. So from here, open the right fist, bring it to the waist. Now, rotate the wrist up to ear level, step back, toe heel. This cobra pulse the monkey, and the back foot turns toe in. It's not a cat stance, you know, all right? Just from this angle. See, you step back not straight, you step back a little bit at a diagonal. So here, you have your shoulder width. Now this is about 60, 40, 60, 40. This is about 90, 10. Okay, but it's called a retreat step. And step back at that diagonal. Make sure that front foot turns toe in. Okay. So, fist under elbow. Open the right fist, keep the weight back on the right hand. Right foot. Make sure that right toe turns in. Okay? So we're just going to go through it once from the very beginning all the way to the end. And let me adjust this a little bit more. Okay, so relaxing the chest, breathing naturally, commencement of Tai Chi. Slanting flying. Raised hands. Okay, now here, put back just a little bit. Make sure here the left leg stays bent. Turn the toe out. And this is step up to form 7 stars. Retreat step here, but we're going to retreat to ride the tiger. Turn. And horizontal kick. Shoot tiger with bow. Step up. Parry. And punch. Parry. Close up of Tai Chi. And the conclusion of Tai Chi. And let's see. And again, we kind of highlighted a little bit, but the breathing is really important. You notice, so you can kind of drift in the movements. The deeper the breathing, the fuller you are and the fuller the energies are. And so one of the things about it is and I'm kind of, it's not a type of breathing, it's just the breath is an alive experience, and it's, this area is actually quite, in some sense, relaxed. Okay. And then, it's a paradox because, my breathing is really too high, means my interior dialogue is too noisy. That's where my eyes are. I'm swinging. But when that starts to go, it's like boom. That's where you can, that's a statement, cut, I am, or put your soul stamp on it. And then, you can be flexible, but all of those movements have that soul stamp in them. Or Aikido wise, boom, 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 boom. The breathing and the Tai Chi are kind of where the Aikido and Tai Chi sort of kind of merge into more of a unified experience. Okay, anybody with a question on any of the movements? Okay, we'll move back to the other room, and I will reverse the camera. Okay. Anyway, the cut we're working on. And the Tai Chi breathing. So one of the things that is important is you can actually, for example, track a number of things on breathing. If you kind of go back, I wake up and I kind of wonder what crazy thing our president's done now. Or I look at the world's not in great shape. That's the world of the interior dialogue, I, all right? And you check your breathing there. It's very shallow. I was running around somewhere my nose to my throat. Think a little bit more. For example, you're at least a chest breather. The beginnings of you have some heart. Okay. If you check, the interior dialogue is still going on at that level, but it's sort of quiets down a bit. If I'm too caught up in this, I'm as cutthroat and ruthless as everybody in the world because I'm selfish. And if I can sort of that's still going on, but I'm on my way, to a much better level of self. Okay, so that better level of self, boom, can begin to put its soul stamp on emotion. Aikido, sort of, boom, Tai Chi, boom. And if I'm up here, everything is too forced, or I start to kind of withdraw, My first Tai Chi teacher was a man named Steve, who was authorized to teach by Master Choi. And what he told me was, Master Choi is always working on his breathing. Because there's one thing you pick up in the Tai Chi. It's the breathing. Okay? And in Aikido, it's much more active, but you still, right? One thing when I was a lot younger, I could go forever. I mean, train, fast. I wouldn't want to do it right now. But, and one of the reasons I kind of thought was the Tai Chi. All right. There was one time where I went like 40 minutes or a couple of minutes past 40 minutes working with Yanasa Sensei after class. So we'd done a full class, and then, if you felt like it, you had the nerve to do it, you would stay and work some more. He would work with you one-on-one. Mainly he would be the nage, but you got a chance to feel his movement, his center, okay? And there was a guy, that came down from Tokyo, and I did a class or two. Mary sneaked me into Hombu Dojo. I couldn't tell I was, Japanese. I keep my mouth shut. We're a white belt, which I was, So I was a first Q, EQ, brown belt here, but they didn't wear black, like color belts in Japan. So, and so I drew this guy, and then after, the end of the class was seated Tokyo, and he was just freezing me out, and I was thinking, you don't run into that so much here, and so he kind of looks at me and says, if you don't understand Kokyu, you don't understand shit, basically, So I went, okay. And so this guy comes down south, to train. And so he kind of, after class, well, what do you do after class? Because he's used to kind of working in Tokyo. He had a couple of friends and they used to train together after class. I said, well, if you're really up for it, you go up and ask the Sensei to throw you around. You get a chance to feel his center, whatever. So he goes up there, he lasts 30 seconds. And so, there's a lot of this which is total ego. But I go in there, onegaishimasu, and I am not going to stop. But Yanase Sensei, he gets the pattern. It's like, he throws you forward. Okay, you get tired. Then you start throwing you back. You get tired. It's a different movement. And then when you start getting tired that way, you start doing pinning movements. You take you down to Swanee Waza or something. You do that. I'm still uke all the time. And then you go back to standing, but you're kind of process and recover some there. Then you go back to throwing it back. Then he take you down to the pinning movement. So, I kept on going and going. And, see, the Japanese actually like that because, they like extreme behavior. If you don't, it's the point where, if you just kind of like, so, it got to where, my belt flies off. And I don't stop. And of course, my belt flies off. My top part of my gi comes open. I don't stop. And then it flies off. I don't stop. And finally, he comes in, and I'm a little slow, so boom, he smacks me right. I'm wearing contact lenses at that time, and I can't see out of one eye, So I think I said contacto, which means contact lens, right? So we stop it. And I look around for it, but it's just up here, so I put it back, and then I thank him. The guy from Tokyo, goes freezing the air on Kokyo. It's really funny because then we start working, and so I go like this, he goes flying. And I said, come on, no, you're not trying to make me look good. He said, no, I cannot. You're doing something that you weren't doing in Tokyo, which means, I don't know, just whatever it was. But then somebody asked me later, what did it feel like? And I said, well, I just sat there. And it was almost like the whole dojo was, this is 1973. And so you'd kind of, sometimes you would watch Star Trek, the original series. And, they go into this energy field. So sometimes the field would be actually an intelligence, a being in energy form with these sparkling lights, right? Not just going, It wasn't, it was that all of a sudden, just from going through that, Hikizuchi Sensei thought it was great. I guess it was a great show for everybody because I was in it. I was not going to stop. It was, to some degree, I went in there totally ego, but you get into the rhythm of it. And I used to be able to go for long periods of time. But Masa Sensei used to go, oh, good, somebody I can work with, throw around and throw around and throw around. So I used to do that. Not every class, because you start to go, it's a nice little feel like it. But I always thought the reason I could do that then was because of the Tai Chi and the actual emphasis on breath. So even though I'm being thrown around and knocked around, everything, the breathing, I'm breathing, but I'm oxygenating from deeper areas because of the Tai Chi. So that part of it, we're kind of going into the breathing today. Breathing can be a pretty good way of kind of checking yourself out. Ordinary reality, I'll be breathing at an ordinary level. At least I'm breathing with my chest, right? Belly breathing. Floor breathing. Breathing from a deeper space. Now, what you kind of find is sometimes when you start to do that, you kind of go, because what happens, when you hit the deeper states, there's more energy there. Okay? And what was interesting about that one instance with Yanasa Sensei was I wasn't tired at all. Because what I realized after a while, he was pumping a load of energy into me. And for whatever reason, on that particular night, I could sort of match that level of energy, take me deeper and deeper and deeper. And sooner or later, I would have worn out. But it's interesting that really what happened is the contact lens thing, or else I would have gone longer. There was absolutely no thought about how long or what I was doing. If we kind of go into sports, that's, about glorifying myself. That's your championship level. You just play. And of course, you want to win. But champions, of course, win because they understand they really play. And the championship in Aikido is winning over yourself. It's about the interior development. But you'll find that the breathing just for a second, those of you that are here, just focus on the breath. See what happens, all right? I'm kind of giving you my own thing, which is good. But on the other hand, if I lay it out too much, you can't discover it for yourself. Okay, Bruce Lee said, pictures are fingers pointing to the moon. Words and stuff like that. You got to realize that and look at the moon, not the finger. So take a second or two. You don't push the breathing down. It's just which did we? I thought we did. Just out of curiosity, any observations, just on the breathing practice? It's something you can work on your own. The Tai Chi actually helps quite a bit. The Aikido sometimes gets a little too motion-oriented, but that really made a difference, in terms of my training. I was really glad that I had the Tai Chi background before I went to Japan. Anybody with an observation? David, anything on the breathing?
In my case, I tend to observe when my breathing has been constricted, and that when I release it, I get a change that I'm not really, I don't know where the change is going to be, but I feel everything change. So yeah. Sometimes I'm trying to figure it out, and if I just stop figuring it out and just let the breath go, whatever it is that I'm working on becomes much.
Well, that's a dimensional shift. As you really, you can track it. You can do a dimensional tracking with the breathing. It's just a way of, Meadow Sensei kind of likes to use the body. You're a shoulder person, a chest person, a belly person, a hip person, a back person, a foot person, a underneath and back energy space person. So he likes to use that, but you can use the breath to track that. So you're making a jump from I in that activity into a deeper, calmer level of you. Okay? That would be my sense. But you can also kind of just take it in increments, like, okay, I'm going to breathe nose to throat. I'm going to breathe chest. When I start to really breathe the belly, then I start to kind of get more of a, here I go back and forth, but if I can reach and not rush, I'm forced to get to belly. It's like this one trying to get there, there's too much movement, chaos. But you'll find that the finer states have more juice to them. That's why it's a paradox. See, if I'm too active and, I'm all too that much, but if that the deeper the breathing, the calmer the space is, the more energy and juice is there. I know it's crazy, but when you're at your calmest, you're actually at your most, to use another term, you're most potent. That's the whole basis of the Zen samurai, right? If you're too crazy, a good swordsman is you're going to leave openings, and you're pretty much dead. But the one who's calm is, that's why what Sensei told, oh, wait, let your energy gather. If you're pushed by your own energy, you're off balance and you've got that crazy hitch. But when you're on one leg waiting, boom, and you're breathing. Oh, didn't say anything about breathing in the book. But, the actual mental state, I'm sure that, oh, was a deep breather. Okay. Anybody else share something about the breathing?
Since I noticed with this breathing we did, as I was sitting, it maybe a visual. It almost felt as if blowing up a balloon little by little, like if it was a very hard balloon to blow up. But as I inhaled with the balloon, it felt like my center was, finding itself more and more like the onion building from the center.
Okay. Yeah.
And
that's a good way of putting it. Now, one of the things that you might work on a little bit as you do that is the calm that expands the balloon. You don't stop your physical breathing, but there's kind of a little bit of a shift. I remember one of the early Aikido workshops I went to. It was an evening, I think Robert Fraser had a family, so he was gone, so Nado Sensei took it. And so they were both really strongly into Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda. And so he just said, I'm going to teach you a breathing method I use. And the way he put it, it's possible to get into a breathless state. So the way that it is, you visualize your spine, okay, as like a column. And it's filled with a vapor or something. You breathe. And you breathe again. Every time you breathe, that vapor goes deeper and your spine clears. And you just keep going. You don't force the air in, force the air out. He wasn't saying breathe in stronger, hold your breath before you go out or anything like that. You just breathe. But you use the visualization. And what was interesting was, there was a thing in the Yogananda tradition, you get your Kriya initiation. And I actually got the first one, And it was, and I asked Nadoka, I said, did you get that from your Kriya training? He said, nah, I didn't want to get too caught up in all the methods of it. So this is just something I came up with. But he knew somebody else that took the Kriya, the complete one. And he was amazed that it was pretty 90% of what the Kriya initiation was just the breathing he'd sort of discovered on his own. Okay. So breath, consciousness are tied. And so Sensei, one of the things is, which I read, I'm not going to try to find it right now. It's just, that's why everything starts with breath. So, without him going too much in to breathe the universe in, breathe it out, that's a big task. It can get extremely mental. Okay, but something like that. The only time I've actually consciously ever had a breathless, reached a breathless state was in a place called Encinitas, California. And it's the place where Yogananda, or one of his organizations, there are several, the Self-Realization Fellowship has its meditation garden. And so I'm down there doing a healing seminar. And, it's 8 hours a day, working on healing techniques. And so this is our day off. So this is our field trip. We go to Self-Realization Fellowship Gardens because it's, the seminar was in San Diego. And I go into this, the gardens. And it's really interesting. It's kind of like returning home. Now, I knew what I was supposed to. I get in the garden, I get out of everybody's way, and I just sit down. And even though my eyes are closed, it's a little bit like, sometimes they have a, there's a video. And then all of a sudden, the video is transposed into like this animation with the reality and detail of this animation, and the colors are different. And that's what I felt. I closed my eyes, and literally what it was I could still see the garden, but it was like an animation of the garden, and the colors, even though it was animation, were much more vivid than my visual of the garden was. So I was just sitting there, and then this big white swan comes into that garden, flies in, turns around, and becomes Yogananda. And there I am. And so, I remember from the autobiography of a yogi, he's, his master, Surya Yukteswar, passes on, but then he comes back to Yogananda after he's experienced physical death, but he's alive and it's more astral form, right? And so Yogananda says, well, can you show me God? And then Surya Yukteswar puts his hand on Yogananda's chest. And he stops breathing. And he has a real direct experience of cosmic consciousness. And so when Yogananda was in the garden, I said, can you show me what Surya Yukteswar showed you? And so he put his hand here. And a lot went on, but the overriding sense was, I am not breathing. That was all my ego sense could make out of it, but everything was calm. Everything was very loving. So I don't know how long I sat there. In fact, after it was over, one person came up and said, "You should have seen yourself. I got a picture of it. I'll show you later what you look like when you were sitting." And it turned out, of course, that she had no film in her camera. So I never got a chance to actually see get a visual of what it was like. But that was, for me, it was an experience in which you might call cosmic consciousness. I'm sure if somebody would say, "Well, did you find God?" I found more of a direct experience of cosmic consciousness in that moment. It was in the garden, and I had a history with Yogananda and his lineage. And it's a real tricky one because, a lot of, for example, the Aikido kind of works a kind of a different direction. It really works, being grounded and deeper and whatever it is. But, the truth is in both directions, all right? Because the whole thing was, it was a very, very direct experience. And that's the only time, a lot of times if I sit for a while, my breathing definitely slows down. And the heartbeat slows down quite a bit. But I've never had that experience since. And what's interesting is Yogananda says, "Anytime you want to call me, I'm here." Of course, you get lazy. You get caught up in all your I stuff, right? But, and sort of hanging out with Mado Sensei, he oftentimes doesn't want to hear about the upper states, even though you don't want to get shouted down, So, but yeah, that was a real direct experience. And so the breathing, now if we go breathing to breathless, that's a pretty major jump, okay? And I think I had a choice at some point whether I was going to go more quote unquote yogic, because I had potential there, right? But, I wound up going more in the Aikido direction. Those of you, well, you wouldn't know this, but when I first started Aikido, Nado Sensei was much more into this stuff before he started going down, right? And his reason for going down, I think, is a very valid one. But Nado Sensei had the finer dimensions too. Yeah. He wasn't just root. He kind of had the whole picture. So, that's still, for me, as I said, how come I didn't just call Yogananda in again? I don't know. Sometimes you go to the gardens and it's like a magical moment. You don't want to tarnish it, so you don't touch it again. But, it's just like, that level of experience, it was a very, very experiential. Because each of us, we are cosmic consciousness. It's just that, so if we track the breathing down to deeper levels, I mean, Sensei had, you know, what you would call some very profound, direct experiences of God and the universe, without which he wouldn't have been Sensei. And it's kind of too bad we settle for so much less, you know. But, you know, that was, probably in terms of my own training, there was that time when I took falls for 40, 42 minutes. So somebody actually looked on the clock and said, I can't remember the exact amount. Linda sort of remembers it still. She'd be the only one right now. Maybe Anasta, since I think he's still alive, he might remember it. Because he liked to do that stuff. And most people would poop out. And so after that, it was like, oh, good, Jack. You know? Because he would throw me and I would get back up, and he would throw me, I would get back up. But I do want to mention that at the end of it all, you know, as I said, I had that experience where it was kind of like in the Star Trek episode, and everything around me was like shivering lights in an energy field. I wasn't tired at all. And, the garden experience, you know. So they're both in some way, you know, tied to breath. I remember I went and visited a man named Art Frank, who's a really talented bebop drummer. You know, he's one of the very last of them because that's many generations ago. But he was a really good friend of jazz trumpeter Chet Baker. And Art was somebody who, he was a bodybuilder. He was a bodybuilder at one time. He was a boxer, and he was a drummer. And so his hands were really strong. And so he would take these steel spikes, and he would bend them. But he kind of gave me a tip. He says, you know, I just go like that. I kind of talk to the spike, find out where it wants to move first, and that's where I focus everything. And so, you know, he gives these spikes to power lifters and NFL football players. And nobody can bend them. And so one day, you know, he's with Chet Baker, who was about 130 pounds and 5'10". And so he's going, I can bend these steel spikes. And he gives it to Chet. And Chet goes, oh, Art, you mean like this? And so after, you know, I mean, I hear this story. I said, well, Art, how did Chet do that? And Art looks at me and says, Jack, I really don't know. But I have the strong feeling that it's something to do with breath. So, you know, I mean, you know, we're talking about breath as a potential gateway. So we did the Tai Chi, we did the cutting movement. Breath is something to kind of investigate, right? One thing that I know from the Do Sensei was somebody asked him about, the Misogi breathing, which is something that Koichi Kohei Sensei used to do, you know, clap, breathe in, breathe through, hold up, clap, breathe out, sustain breath. And so somebody asked the Do Sensei, what do you think of Misogi breathing? And the Do Sensei's comment, this was like 1969, 1970, was, I'd rather not think about it. In other words, there's a difference between training yourself in breathing, you know, like maybe, you know, you can do 2 minutes in breath, 2 minutes out breath, and breath. Breath is a very natural state, which we can then expand to deeper levels. But if you're training yourself to extend the physical breath out and in. It might, I mean, I've never been a great fan of it. So, but charting your consciousness through your breath, or tracking, or Nado Sensei would say you track your eye. Through the breath. That is natural breathing. Breathing, breath, breath, breathing. And as I said, there's breathing and there's breathless. Breathless was wow. All right. But that was only once. Okay. Everybody, has experiences like that. Like apparently, Linda was told by Tochima Sensei one time he picks the staff up. What O Sensei could do, people would push on the side, and all of a sudden, wow! But then he totally lost it. He could never get it back. David? Yeah. Remember the last, what was it? The last, Aikido Valley High. You were on it, Lou was on it, I think Meng and Melanie were on it. I sort of got the feeling the reason they wanted to go was to shop and eat ice cream. But I remember we did some sitting in the morning. There was that one day out where I kind of had you and Lou push on the staff. You remember that at all?
Yes.
What did it feel like?
Well, it's one of those things where you don't quite understand what's happening.
Yeah.
You're pushing and it feels like you're pushing on something solid, but
there's nothing solid.
But there's nothing solid.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, from my viewpoint, okay, was just because you guys are exerting an obvious force on that. But the second before you two pushed, there was an invisible counterforce there. So I'm just standing there. I don't know why I actually tried to do that. And so when you're pushing, all I was doing was just saying, wow, there's this invisible counterforce. I've never been able to do that again. Anybody could do anything once. It's a one-time miracle, right? But Sensei could do it like it was like his breathing, his breath. It was like, okay, push. All right. So yeah, that was my one really good. Said, wow. That all of a sudden I'm just there. I don't know why I even stuck it out. Maybe it was the Aikido angel saying, you got to feel this. And so I did it. And second, before you and Lou both pushed on it, I just felt like there was an invisible counterforce to your physical force that was already in activity there, in action. And all I had to do was just extend the stick. And boy, I've never been able to get that again. In those senses, said, will you do it at the next Occidental workshop? I said, hell no. I could do what O-sensei did. Well, if I ever get it, then maybe so. But that was at one time. Okay. Anyway, I think we're gonna work on the breathing. One of my first patterns in Aikido was, once I got the Tai Chi, I would do the Tai Chi, and then I'd sit. And it's funny that, of course I read the stuff, but all that stuff we were talking about at the beginning, I would get those words in the meditation space. I wasn't trying to remember them or recite them, but it was like, and that was a pattern for me for a long time. And then I got into like meditating, like I studied formal meditation with the Self-Realization Fellowship, and so I didn't do that pattern. But you know, if I just do the cutting, boom, and step, I get a similar flavor. So the breathing. Okay. Anyway, I think we'll call it for today. So thank you all for tuning in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.